all we really know, though, is that a very, very high-value athlete to a lot of colleges is out right now, and is probably done for the year.
And he is a senior.
Yes, he is. So my hope for him is that schools don't drop him.
Oh, I don't. You know what? They probably will not, especially if they're if they're recruiting him as a D-back, which most people are. Mm-hmm. Then that is not. It's bad, but it's not as bad for a running back to get a ligament.
Yeah,
you know.
So, and like I said, it's with the way the medical field is now.
Yeah.
A knee ligament is not as serious an injury as it used to be 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Sure.
It still is unfortunate that it happened, and it's unfortunate that there's a little controversy behind
it.
And
who were they playing? I forgot. I don't know if you have it there or not, but
I believe it might have been Dorman.
Dorman?
Yeah,
they beat Dorman too,
yes,
didn't they?
I believe it was.
Might have been Dorman.
So,
and I would be, you know what? I would be real surprised if the coaching staff at Dorman did anything on purpose.
No, it doesn't seem to jive with their character, but again, that's all speculation about that.
Right.
But like I said earlier, all we really know is that a very, very talented young man was injured in a game and is likely done for the season, and that's all we really know.
Yeah. And it's his senior year. That's what the killer is. Mm-hmm. Okay, Class 3A in the poll.
Had some big moves in this one. There's a new number 1 team in 3A this week. Hartsville has moved to number 1.
They've been there before.
Yes, they have. And they are moving up there because South Point lost to Northwestern in what was one of the more publicized games in the state. South Point, of course, 3A. Northwestern, a 4A team. Northwestern was able to slip by South Point in overtime. So that's probably why South Point wasn't punished too much for that loss.
Yeah.
Only dropped to number 2, but I think they still had to be dropped. I had them number 2 in my personal poll. So that seems to be where they are. Still in good position, though, for a run. Greer holds at number 3. Seneca has jumped up to number 4. Chapin bumps up to number 5. And BHP is up to number 6. Airport is 7. And the reason all that moving up is because Myrtle Beach surprisingly got beat last week by Carolina Forest.
That had to be a shock down there in Seahawk land. I can tell you that.
It was. There were a lot of people that were not expecting that one.
Yeah, I used to work down that way, and in fact, I broadcast Myrtle Beach sports for several years, and that had to shock them.
And then, of course, rounding out the poll, number 9 is Lancaster, and number 10 is Hilton Head Island.
That's kind of a surprise to me that they're
one of those teams that have slowly but surely stayed under the radar, and they're undefeated right now.
Yeah.
So that we'll see if they can keep their momentum going as they hit region play and get into it. And, of course, Lancaster, that's a little bit of a surprise to me. Don't really think they're known as a football powerhouse, but they got some solid athletes in that area. So a good showing this week for Lancaster. I think they've had a pretty good early season.
Okay. In Class AA.
AA, we had a little bit of movement.
It's still the same suspects, though.
Yes, it is. Dillon remains number 1. Batesburg-Leesville has moved up to number 2. So Crescent, next week, you'll get to go play the number 2 team in the state at Batesburg-Leesville.
Yeah, what a way to come off a bye week.
Yeah. Newberry comes in at number 3. Abbeville has dropped to number 4 because they lost to Union County last Friday.
And Union County is a 3A.
Yes, they are.
But they had some tough luck. They lost several close. Now the coach at Union County is Steve Tannehill, who coached. He coached at a private school and just beat everybody in 8-man football, I think it was. And then he went to Chesterfield and he won a state championship, if I'm not mistaken, maybe.
He won a state champion at Chesterfield, and Chesterfield was just beating everyone to death when he was there.
So I got over to Union County, and there have been some kind of changes over there administrative-wise and some other things happening in the county. They combined some schools or did something.
They consolidated all the high schools in the Union County into one.
Yes, and things have not been wonderful for them since. In fact, they let a coach go after a year or two, and they brought Steve in. Some people didn't want him.
No, they didn't.
So many people on the school board didn't want him, but they brought him in, and I'll bet he's kind of on a hot seat.
It's odd that he's on a hot seat because a few years ago they were in an upper state title game and they beat Daniel to go to state. So,
was it him? Was that Steve?
Yes, he was. The
well, okay, all right.
So they had a tough non-region slate this year, and of course, being at Union County, a place with that much history, you're going to be on a hot seat pretty quick if you start sliding.
Kind of like Woodruff.
And I think the fact that there were some board members that did not want him there for whatever reason. Probably has a lot to do with the Carolina Clemson thing, I imagine.
Well, I think his brashness also was brought up. That could just have been an excuse.
Yeah,
to do that.
I've met him after a game, and he has a brash personality.
Oh yeah.
So that can't be.
We got one of those real close here too.
Yeah.
But
hey, a brash personality works if you win.
That's right, all the time.
But yeah, so Abbeville lost to Union County. They were not punished too much for that because I think everyone knows Union County is still a quality team.
Yeah. And a 3A school.
And a 3A school. So Abbeville's now at number 4. Timberland about in the, don't want to say the lower part of the state or the Midlands. It's kind of in that little in-between area, I think. They come in at number 5. Lake Marion at 6. Strom Thurmond, another Lakeland's 2A team that Crescent will have to play this year.
Yeah.
They're in at number 7. Woodruff, of course, and Skyline 2A is 8. Fairfield Central is 9. And our own Pendleton Bulldogs come in at number 10. And even though we don't have any teams in Class A, McVee holding strong at 1. Bamberg Earhart at 2. Christchurch 3. Allendale Fairfax, who this past week has been in front of the SCHSL trying to, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? They're protesting their realignment. They're trying to go back to single A because they're going to be in Class 2A after realignment.
But a lot of the people, a lot of this whole business of the realignment, they've just added an A to most of this stuff. They moved some people around, of course, but Allendale Fairfax is in the middle of nowhere. I went down there one time, 35, 40 years ago, and broadcast a playoff game. I forgot now around here who it was that was playing, and they sent me down there and did that game, and you almost can't get there.
Yeah, it's a hard place
to the stadium.
But they've been, I guess, trying to appeal their decision to move them to Class 2A for next year. As far as I know, that appeal has failed, so they will be in Class 2A next year. Calhoun County comes in at number 5. That's another Class A powerhouse that's been down there. Big game we had in Class A was Lamar and Lakeview. Lakeview came in a little bit higher seed. Lamar upset them in a win, so Lamar moves to number 6. Lakeview, who was number 6, moves down to number 8, so they were not punished too much for that loss. Cross comes in at 7. Whitmire comes in at 9. And finally, at number 10 is Williston Elko.
When you bring up Lakeview, here again I'm going to kind of ramble. Back when there was Belton High School and Huntingpath High School, a guy named Claude Howe was coaching at Huntingpath. Later went down to Clinton, had a fine career. But they played Lakeview in a state championship. Huntingpath played Lakeview. Lakeview had 13 people on the whole team. One of them was a guy named Wayne Page. Wayne Page signed to go to and play at West Point, but I don't know how long he stayed, but he came back. He scored all the touchdowns in that game. It was just 18-0. No extra points got scored, but they shut out Huntingpath. And Wayne came to Clemson and was an all-ACC defensive back, probably twice. Look, I'm a historian. I'm just old. But I like to throw those things in there. All right, so we've gone through and talked about some of the teams around locally and some of the teams around the state of South Carolina. I'm going to do a quick rundown now on the USA Today. Top 25. Bishop Gorman still number 1. Number 2, St. Thomas Aquinas. Number 3 is still St. John Bosco. Allen, Texas is still number 4. Colquitt County out of Moultrie, Georgia is number 5. And number 6 is Centennial out of Corona, California. Nobody much has moved, maybe one or two. Clay Chalkville out of Pinson, Alabama is number 7. Now, DeMatha Catholic out of Hyattsville, Maryland. They moved up. I think previously, no, they moved down. Previously, they were number 4. All right, Ocean Lakes, Virginia Beach is number 9. Number 10, Katy, Texas. That IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida is number 11. There's something about a player down there that had once committed to Clemson, and he backed off his commitment.
That'd be linebacker Rayshawn Smith.
Yes, and he's still got him on their list, but he wants to, I never, ever can knock a kid for wanting to take visits.
No.
I just can't do it.
No, I don't think I don't think they should be not. It's a big decision for them,
At that age, too.
And of course, the argument is whether they can transfer after a year and all that. But as someone who did a transfer in college, it's a hassle.
Yeah.
Because you have to resubmit all your paperwork all over again.
And hope.
You're not sure what classes are going to transfer between institutions and all that. So you want to try and get it right the first time. And so he's doing the responsible thing, taking his visits, making sure he goes to a place where he truly wants to be. And because a lot of times with these kids, when they get there, they have to be in a place they want to be, or they will not develop as a.
That's true, and also they're not always a fit just everywhere too. All right, so then number 12 is Trinity in Euless, Texas. 13 American Heritage in Plantation, Florida. De La Salle in California. They're 3-1. They in American Heritage. No, there's one more with a loss. Cedar Hill, Texas. Spartanburg, South Carolina is still 16. There were 19 last week. And, but boy, listen, if they can walk through the rest of their schedule, they ought to be way up there, too.
I think so.
Yeah.
They'll have some tougher games
in
their region.
Yeah. You got Dorman and you've got Burns, and then there's up there in that area you play Northwestern, Rock Hill, you play those kind of Gaffney, those schools jump in there on you.
And if they get in the playoffs, they're going to have a tough run because 4A Upper State this year is loaded.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's typically why the whoever wins Upper State in 4A typically wins state as well. So they got a long road to hoe, and this is a state title or bust year for them, basically, with all the talent they have.
With what's going, because Feaster's got to be gone next year, and I hope he's up the road here.
From everything I've heard from some Clemson writers I've heard, it's going to take a lot to sway him away.
Yeah, because I think his dad is a big Clemson guy too.
I think so, and honestly, when he gets there, he'll probably start running.
Wouldn't be surprised. So number 17 is Webb City, Missouri. 18 is Jinx, Oklahoma. 19 is St. Joseph Regional in Montvale, New Jersey. All right, LaSalle of Cincinnati, and they're real big in high school basketball too. LaSalle. Well, a lot of these are. Like DeMatha out of Maryland. A lot of them are just basketball schools till recently. And then I guess, I don't know, it's a team in Louisville, M-A-L-E, is male. I don't know if that's where it's Molly or male or whatever. Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. Saline, Michigan. Archbishop Rumel Maitre D in, but it's added the D, in Louisiana. Excuse me. And then mainland, Daytona Beach, Florida. Those schools, and those are the guys you see so many on TV. They're excuse me. And those are almost football factories and basketball factories.
They are. They're like I said, they're the teams you see on Friday on TV when you don't go to a game. They're the ones that ESPN is broadcasting, and they have the players that you see later in the year that are at the Under Armour All-American Classic, the U.S. Army Classic. They are loaded, stockpiled talent, and they are almost like watching small college operations at times. So I don't necessarily agree with that for a high school program, but that's just the way it has gone.
That's the way it is. To me, it's the same thing we might get into later about AAU basketball as opposed to high school basketball, and And basketball coaches at colleges seldom even bother with high school